Hello snowboarders of the internet, I'm your host Avran LeFeber, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the new Ride A9. I rode this board at Copper Mountain on a day that was overcast skies, high winds, low winds, medium winds, puking snow, chopped out pow underneath, a little bit of crusty corduroy, and I rode it on my Telos Mike Rankwit snowboard with my K2 Thraxis boots. So the big story with this binding for adjustability is that you get two different discs, composite and aluminum. The composite's going to be a little more forgiving, and the aluminum's going to be a little more rigid and powerful. After that, you have flip cams on your toe and your heel strap so you can lengthen or shorten them. Also, the heel strap sits on a slide track that's connected to the high back. This allows you to rotate the high back as well as slide it forwards and backwards in there. The heel cup is fully adjustable. You have your forward lean adjustment, and then finally you have the foot pad, which has a little bit more adjustability, like a very micro amount of movement in it. So when it comes to the straps, these work, they work well. You have a three-piece design on the heel strap, so it gives a little bit of cushion in there instead of just relying on the instep of the boot and the material of the boot to give you all that comfort and to relieve those pressure points. The skeleton through the middle of it is a little bit stiffer, so when you drive into it, you feel it. With the toe strap, you do have a wider cutout, but there is foam in there, so it may pop off certain boot shapes, especially if it's really blunted out. You may want to crank it down a little bit more. I have more of a pointy toe boot, seemed to fit fine. Didn't have too many issues with it. Just understand you got to crank it a little bit more than you think just to stay locked in, or if you're old school, rock it over the top. I don't know why anyone does that, but I see you people out there and you know who you are. When it comes to the ratchets, they're smooth, they're fluid, they climb well, they release well. You don't have to worry about them. They stay locked in. There's no premature releasing from these, so you don't have to worry about ejecting out of your binding. So with the high back, there's a little bit of natural forward lean. You can feel that on the back of the boot. It is a little bit narrower, but it is a rigid high back. So when you really drive into it, you can feel that power. You can really just push back into it. Forward lean adjustment, super easy. Pop it up, slide it down, slide it up, lock it in where you need it to be. Flick it back up, lock it in. You're ready to go, rock and roll. What more do you need from that for forward lean adjustments? I don't know. No, seriously, I don't know. I don't rock forward lean. So one of the big things with this binding and its flex is that you have two discs to choose from, aluminum or composite. I went with the composite. It gives you a little more lateral play in there, and also with the shape of the binding, there's a bevel on it, so you do get more lateral play out of the aluminum than you do the composite, which is really weird. I know a lot of people are probably like, what? No, this should be a little more rigid underfoot. It is rigid, but that lateral play is there. Overall, it's a middle of the road, maybe a little bit past middle of the road flex to it. With the straps, you can drive into it, but there is more lateral roll in there. I would say that it's definitely bordering more towards the Freeride spectrum than the all mountain freestyle spectrum. Not a bad thing. It's a binding that you can just be powerful with. The overall ride of this binding is precision and power. It does a great job of dampening underfoot with that pad in there. You do get that lateral roll in there, but when you want to drive hard, you can. It dampens chatter, it dampens vibrations, which I know sounds counterintuitive to hear from a binding that's got an aluminum chassis, but it works, and it works well. Who's this binding for? Someone that likes a smooth, damp, and powerful ride. I won't lie, I've never been a fan of aluminum bindings. You just feel too much chatter. This generation of ride bindings is completely different. These actually have more lateral roll to them, so you don't just have this giant dead spot underfoot when you're trying to leverage your weight on the outside of the board or even in the inside when you're driving it. You don't have that. It is damp. It is powerful. It's not as powerful as the A10, and it's not as all mountain freestyle versatile as the A8. What I like about it is that you can charge when you need to, but you can be laid back. Do I think Ride needed to have a 9 series between the 8 and the 10? Not necessarily. I just don't really see where it sits in there because it's too much overlap with either of those bindings, but it works, and it's probably for someone out there. But for me, I was just like, I'd probably rather just ride an 8 series if I was doing all mountain freestyle, and I'd rather ride a 10 series if I was just gonna charge hard. Comparable bindings, the Bent Metal Solution, the Rome Cleaver, the Union Atlas Super Pro. This has been my review of the Ride A9 binding. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you own a pair? Are you gonna buy a pair? Leave me a comment down below. Let's have a conversation about this binding. If you're new here, remember to subscribe, click the bell, get those notifications. That way you're not missing any of the videos we got coming out for all you snowboarders of the internet. And if you really like what we're doing over here and you want to support us further, swing on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP and become a member. Sure, I could tell you more here, but I got a video over there that explains it so much better. As always, I've been your host, Avran LeFeber, and I'll see you in another video.